Chapter 15. The door to the inn swings open, and sitting in the lobby, on a worn couch, is Isamu and Fadir, quietly staring at the empty table. Besides them, the room is empty, as the front table has a small sign that reads out for lunch. Hotaru takes a seat on the old chair at the end, which draws their attention to her as it squeaks. Aziza remains standing up. Hotaru didn't expect them to be back so soon. From the way they stare blankly at the cleared-off table, they seem to have a lot on their mind. I hope they didn't get into trouble again, she thought, keeping herself calm and not letting her assumptions get the best of her. Finally, you're back, Isamu started, unclasping his hands and looking at her. We were starting to think you got lost in the town, and we would have to find you. I was thinking the same thing, Hotaru counters with a smirk. What made you leave the theater so fast? The lights are still on. He leans in, his eyes narrow. Robin Hood's bandits were there. It's worse than I thought. You're serious? No doubt about it. I didn't see their faces, but they mentioned the Sunstone and us taking the crown back from them. Also, they have a new base in a cave somewhere. You didn't learn the location? They were right behind me. If I stayed there any longer, I was bound to be found out. That was the trouble you were talking about? Fadir added. So this Robin Hood guy is dangerous then. Hotaru remembers the way he easily beat her down, the excruciating pain surging through her bones. He was more brutal than any monster she faced. The way his eyes lit up as he held his axe to Isamu's limp body. It was terrifying that a man could hold such malice. Every day she is thankful to Pimiko for saving them. If it weren't for Grandma, I don't think we would still be here, Isamu answered. Hotaru shoots from her chair, frustrated by her weakness. How was she ever to kill the Archfiend if she was so easily trumped by one man? Her fear turns to rage. She has to prove she can stand the test, the punishment her father managed. A hero cannot have a faint heart. Well, now there are 4 of us. If his goons are here, then this cave has to be somewhere. They mentioned a town called Baharada, so I would assume it would be near there. But enough of this. They seem to be recovering for the moment, and we should focus on finding this magic key. She sits back down, and though angry about the situation, he's right as Pimiko's warning rings. Isamu once again brings Hotaru back to reality. Fine, she muttered. Aziza steps up. On our way, we found some sort of fortune teller who spoke of the key being in a great pyramid in the desert. Sounds easy enough, Isamu said. Not only that, but to get access we must request it from the Queen of Isis. From what we know, her castle is near an oasis. Isamu tilts his head, holding his hand to his chin. You heard all of that sits in the desert? Are you certain that this isn't some sort of legend or fraudulence? The barkeep said something along the same lines. They turned their heads over to Fadir. He said if anyone were to know of treasure, the Queen of Isis would. Did he mention anything else about her? Aziza asked. Not particularly useful, other than her castle is located at an oasis in the west of the desert. What do you mean by not particularly useful? He takes a moment to speak. He just mentioned how beautiful she is. Isamu leans back, eager with excitement. Well, how beautiful is she? He sighs. To quote his words, most men scour across the accursed desert, knowing they may never return again. However, the Lady of the Desert makes it all worth it. She is a gift to mankind, a living goddess from the heavens above. One look into her eyes will have you love-struck till the day you inevitably meet your end. Even the most sinister being would be infatuated by her spell. They pause, looking blankly at Fadir, who has arisen from his seat while speaking, holding out his hand like a stage play actor. He falls to the couch. I was only doing what he did. Quite the poet. But I'm interested. Isamu grins. So when do we see this queen? And back to normal they go. So much for your worry. Unfortunately for you boys, the castle only allows women entry, so you will have to wait behind until we get back. Isamu is left stunned at Hotaru's words and evil laughter. He waves his hand over his face. "Well, that's stupid," he pouted. Hotaru's overdramatic laughter turns to a giggle as she scans the empty lobby. Part of her should feel worried of waking anyone who rests inside the nearby rooms, but they are most likely out for the night, just like the receptionist. "Anyway, I think we have our next course of action. Let's rest up till the morning. We will gather some equipment for the road then." With Hotaru happy with their new lead, and Aziza following her to the counter, where the innkeeper finally returned, Isamu and Fidir glance at each other. Isamu is full of disappointment, while Fidir is red in the face. "Well, are you coming or what?" Hotaru shouted back. They both look at each other once more, then back to her. "Yes," they mutter. The scorching heat from the sun shines down on them. The endless sand, like an ocean, is never ending. With each hill they pass, another one lies in the distance. No life exists on the unforgiving desert floor, only the occasional hawk or vulture flying above, scouring for food. With each step, the hot golden sand radiates its intense heat through their boots. Even with plenty of water to cool their bodies, they are drenched in sweat. Fidir has his coat over his shoulder, and Aziza continues to wear her cloak on her waist. Besides the sandy steps and heavy breaths, the only noise is Fidir muttering a prayer for safety. Aziza feels like she is walking through an endless sea belonging to the underworld. Nowhere in her home, nor Alihan, has it ever been so hot. She ponders how her parents even managed to cross this desert, especially her mother, who was pregnant at the time of their departure from this land, as her father has stated before Aziza left them on the boat to Alihan. "How much more of this do we have?" Isamu shouted, full of exhaustion and anger. "We have been traveling for hours. Surely this castle has to be near." "Don't yell. You will only burn your energy," Hotaru warns as she manages to form the sentence. "Are you sure we are going the right way and not going in circles?" Fidir said that it lies to the west, and it's safe to assume that we are nearing the evening. That means if we follow the direction of the sun, we are heading west. Is she right, Fidir? Fidir has his eyes closed while bobbing his head downwards. However, he confirms his question with a weak thumbs up. Isamu silently sobs to himself as they cross another sand hill, each aching step, time seeming endless, but the sunset draws near. Thankfully, the weather cools slightly, making the adventure far more tolerable. However, their supplies dwindle at a rapid pace, leaving them with scraps for food and water. In the dead approaching silence, a disturbed sound of rustling draws near. Aziza stops, trying to pinpoint its location. It's shifting, but there's no place to hide. Slowly it approaches, and she places her hand onto the hilt of her short blade. "What was that?" Aziza questioned. A muffled gurgle follows. A faint smell of poison rises from the ground. She stares down at her feet to see a pair of glowing yellow eyes peek from the sand. "From below!" she yelped, sliding her feet away from the rising monster. A rotten hand, wrapped in bandages, latches onto Hotaru's boot. She jumps back with a horrifying scream. "What is that?" she screamed, crashing to the floor. It moans as it rises. Its hand reaches out with another. A head of rotten flesh, wrapped in soggy, stained bandages, emerges from the sand. Isamu startles both of them with a horrifying truth. "They're coming from behind." Aziza and Hotaru spin to the sound of nearby groans. They panic as several wrapped corpses close in. Their exposed bones and their bodies crack with every step forward. Their scent of death and decay envelops the hot sands. "This isn't good." Isamu takes the lead with his iron claw ready. He slashes through the closest one, and its gash explodes with a black gas. Isamu falls to the floor as the black liquid splatters on his face, gagging onto the sand from its deathly stench. Hotaru drags him away from the monster that is still pursuing him. "Are you all right?" I'll be fine, he coughed. A grim scream alerts them. They turn to find Fadir halfway in a swirling pool of sand, sucking him in like an ocean whirlpool. His body quickly delves deeper into its depths with each rapid spin. Isamu shoots up and jumps into the whirlpool. Unfortunately, he is too late, and Fadir's head sinks in. A hand latches onto Isamu's foot, and then another. He attempts to kick them away, however his feet sink faster into the sand with each struggle. "Isamu!" Hotaru screamed, running carelessly into the whirlpool to save her brother, but Aziza held her back. "Reach the castle. We will be fine." His head sinks into the swallowing sands before another word can escape his lips. "We need to get out of here now or else we're dead too," Aziza yelled. Hotaru's face is flushed and her breathing is erratic. Aziza grabs her tightly, the adrenaline granting her the strength to carry the fainting hero. Aziza remains stoic as she faces the horde of monsters. She glares at the sunset and pulls out a couple of throwing knives from the patches on her shirt. Easily she dispatches the monster blocking her path, avoiding their black gas emitting from their heads, and with haste, they charge through the monsters with unaware speed and strength by their side. "Please be safe," Aziza thought, taking a final glance at the disappearing swirling sand.